Namaste. Today I'm demonstrating something called Jal Neti kriya. Jal Neti is one of the 6 shaktarmas, or 6 cleansing practices that hatha yogis use on a regular basis to purify the body. If you've practiced yoga with me before, you've done one of these, Kapalabhati kriya, the skull shining breath, for sure. And you'll see in a moment why we don't do Jal Neti kriya in a yoga class. So this practice is done in the morning before your asana practice. And it's really great for irrigating the sinuses, the nasal system. If you have any proclivity towards sinus headaches, this is great. Personally, it kind of changed my life because I used to suffer from those a lot, and now I hardly ever do. But you do have to practice it every morning. You can't just practice it when you're having symptoms, then it doesn't really do a whole lot to affect you. So for this practice, you need a neti pot. You can get one of these at CVS or at Walgreens, or they're easy to find online. And you need to have some boiled water prepared. So what I do is the night before, I make sure that I've got a kettle of boiled water. That way in the morning I can just heat it for a minute and then it becomes the right temperature. You want to make sure that the temperature of the water is warmer than room temperature, but you also want to make sure that it isn't too hot. And so when you stick your finger into the water, if you don't recoil, then it's probably a good temperature, as long as it's feeling warmer than. Also, if you have a really good water filtration system, you can use that filtered water instead. Just make sure you don't use tap water or even bottled water, because those will have impurities that could affect your sinuses in a detrimental way. The other thing that you'll need is salt. So I am using sea salt, but you can use rock salt as well. The important thing is that it is non-iodized. If the salt is iodized, then it can create some problems again in the nasal passages. The amount of salt that you need kind of varies from person to person. I tend to use a little bit less than a quarter teaspoon. Basically, if you use too much, it's going to be uncomfortable. If you use too little, it's going to be uncomfortable. But the more you use, the more you're disinfecting and killing germs within your system. So I'm going to use a little bit less than a quarter teaspoon. I also want to mention that when you purchase these neti pots at CVS or Walgreens, they often come with these little packets. There you can see it. And those will have a good amount for beginners to use. I also use them when I travel because of convenience. But once you get used to using that right amount of saline, then you can proceed to using the regular rock or sea salt. I'm filling my quarter teaspoon cup, not quite to the top, and I'm placing this in my filled to the near brim of neti pot. That dissolves pretty quickly, that small amount. You can switch it around a little bit. You begin with a nostril that's feeling more open. So take a couple breaths. Notice which nostril is more open. For me, that's the right side. It's pretty typical for me. So I'm going to place the tip of this into my right nostril. The water is going to come out of the left. This is going to be irrigating the nasal passages. A lot of people call the nose the gateway to the immune system. So this is very good for your immune system to clear out any germs that are there. It's also said to be good for eyesight, and it's definitely good for headaches. It can be on a more esoteric level good for Ajna chakra, and it's good for Shushumna nadi, the central channel of energy in the body. So when you place the neti pot into the nostril, you need to bend over something like 45 degrees, and you need to tilt your head to the side that you want the water to come out. And then you may need to articulate your chin up or down a little bit to get it to come out correctly. And I count for about 54 seconds for one side. So here goes. So notice I had my mouth open so I could breathe through my mouth as I was doing the practice. And then afterwards, you just kind of use alternating nostrils, head side to side to get the excess water out. I may have gone a little bit over. Add a little bit of extra water before I proceed to the second side. And a touch more salt. So now you go from the left side to the right side for the remainder of the water. So after doing both nasal passages, you're probably going to want to blow your nose. You can just make sure you do it very gently and make sure you're not blocking either nostril as you do it. Now, a common mistake that people make is to just go about their business now, but we're not done. Very important to now lubricate the nostrils after doing Jal Neti. We've just cleared the nasal passages, removed any germs or viruses that might be in there with the salt. But now, because we're so open, we're very susceptible to putting in new germs. So what we do is we lubricate with some type of oil. I'm using olive oil. Olive oil and ghee are probably the two most versatile to use. You can use it any season, any body constitution. Sesame oil is good for the winter, and coconut oil is good for the summer. But olive oil, ghee is good at any time. So what you do is you just take a dab of that in with your pinky finger, get nice and high up into the nostril, both nostrils, and then breathe nice and strong so that you feel that oil come up and lubricate up into the depths of the nostrils. So during this time, it's always good to breathe in through the nostrils because your nose has certain attributes that help it protect itself from germs to begin with. Nose hairs, mucous membranes, things like that, that help trap anything that's coming in that shouldn't come into the body. But using this oil after your neti practice is even better to help support that function. It's also good if you tend to get dry, feel dryness. It's good to lubricate that. So especially in the fall or early winter when we start to get that sort of dry feeling, it's even more important to lubricate the nostrils with your oil. So that is the practice of Jal Neti. Again, you do it every morning and it can really change your life for the better. And once you've been practicing this every morning for about a year or so, you can proceed to step 2, Sutra Neti. See you for that.